very good afternoon, one and all. Here. I hope like everyone is settled. Okay. Uh, I understand like there are two challenges here, especially like after the post lunch sessions. In fact, the first challenge is that, as I said, post lunch session, like both students and participants are in a mood to, have a different world. Okay. The second challenge is like the organizers are getting prepared for the valedictory. Yeah. So in the midst of like these two, like conditions, in these two actually like challenges, I would like to actually like make a presentation. In fact, like I really particularly thank the organizing director, uh, Dr. Yasir sir, and the organizing team for having given me this opportunity to present here to the delegates and participants and the students here. So I hope like I'll be making sense by pitching like certain core aspects. As I told you, like there are this session is be conditioned maybe with these sort of two things. So I'll try to actually like pitch the cracks of like what I wanted to convey or I wanted to actually present to the audience to who want actually like to take something out of this particular presentation or that makes some sense by understanding the scenario of community-based financial literacy and the grassroots economic empowerment among rural workers. So that is the topic is given to me. Right. So trying to understand like the conceptual aspects. So how actually like the financial literacy, especially like in the rural space. We understand like rural workers are like contributing a lot of ways. For example, like the agricultural aspects, trade activities, and like small scale industry like that. So overall, like they have a contribution like the informal. So they actually like by contributing a lot of things, we all know that how effectively they are contributing to the rest of these the populations. So they are contributing a lot to the more than 75% of the populations, even on the day-to-day basic needs also. So we understand like how they are contributing, but are they receiving like due attention in terms of even understanding that their financial like the activities or the behavioral things. So remember like this financial literacy, especially with reference to rural workers, are really actually like having at least two challenges: the financial knowledge or the financial actual like the services that they experience and all these things. So rural workers they do face a lot of challenges in the financial aspects so far. So if you look at like money for in terms of its the economic the aspects. So we look at like money just as not just a day-to-day requirement, but how it makes sense in terms of like promoting or like leading to a development, especially like sustainable development kind of things, or how it really empowers people. So it's not about just money which is fulfill certain things, but beyond that, how it actually makes sense like that. So it's very important that how we all think money beyond like its implications, its impact in our everyday life. So it's very important that we need to understand from the rural workers' perspectives. So in that sense, I think the you had actually listened to a lot of deliberations about today's conference. So how financial aspects and especially with textile industry, people. So in this this particular topic is also slightly will be addressing on that because it's also like talks about like the rural workers and their engagement so far. So this is how actually the interaction that has been very well, and then the conceptual thing that we need to understand what really financial literacy matters to us. So, for example, like we can approach into two aspects. One is like the general financial literacy that we do all have, because we do have a kind of liberty, we have choice, we are aware that how actually the literacy is being how we hold the literacy aspect. For example, like you can see the awareness, knowledge, skills, attitude and behavior that we are very much do it when finance literacy matters to us. For example, like pocket money is being given to us. For example, let's say some 100 rupees is given to us. So how this makes sense in terms of awareness, knowledge, skills, attitude, and all these things. So how you make use of those things? Or you really spending that particular thing, for a day, or you take that money to the next day or like that. So it matters a lot of things like when it comes to financial literacy. There's a definition is standard definition given by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. On the other side, you have community-based financial literacy, where rural workers are there. To them, actually, like financial literacy, we understand they have the kind of tradition or indigenous kind of knowledge and awareness they do have it. For example, they have the traditional aspect, the traditional way of dealing with the financial aspect, whether it is arithmetic way or in awareness way or in a behavioral aspects way. They know like how to actually like spend money. Even you can see like how our parents, and grandparents are having the idea of like the financial aspect of all. So you can understand, you can borrow. You can observe that how they understand the financial aspects, and they are actually like transferring to us like how it has to be spent in a meaningful manner. So you can see that taking that approach, community-based financial things is something like interesting that makes sense when it comes to the financial education initiatives that were designed and created for the people so far. So remember, because it's not always like traditional methods of finance literacy helps rural workers or villages, because they are in a need to like update. They are in a need to like satisfy or complete their financial activities. For example, like a merchant actually is coming to the village, okay, for selling a product, okay. So even any kind of the merchants who are coming, even it can be vegetable vendors. So what actually is happening? The rural workers or even rural individuals are supposed to satisfy that particular thing. They have to complete the transaction to kind of things. So they are in a situation that rural workers are in a situation to what? Complete what actually the digital kind of transaction. Because even the many vendors, they are coming with what the online kind of things, digital kind of things. So they are expecting a cashless kind of transaction. So here it makes sense like community financial literacy that needs to be approached, educated, designed to the rural workers so far. So apart from what they are possessing from the traditional aspect. So this is actually like the concept that we need to understand. So you need to have the key aspects, financial literacy, general financial literacy, and the literacy aspects of rural workers. So the general actually financial literacy, what we actually possess as an individual. You can also like compare by yourself. So what are the actually like the basic knowledge or the basic action aspects that I do actually possess so far. For example, like it's about budgeting, saving, or like meaningful or responsible borrowing. So like that actually we do have a kind of like thoughts that how it has to be spent or how it has to be like saved like that. But whereas when it comes to like community based actually the financial literacy, that is involved with a different actually actions or different kind of like perspectives so far, because here different stakeholders are involving in that. So different groups are actually like involving in the community actually like literacy aspects. So it differs from groups to actually like groups so far. So it needs like to understand or capture their language. If you are looking at like a group, or a particular actually like community-based actually like a group that they are actually like working on a particular thing. Then you can see that how the language, the tone, or like the local language they speak, or the ethnic, I mean, and the kinship aspects that they use it. So you can see that these things like local knowledge, language, and peer-to-peer actually learning aspects. So how they are feeling compatible with their own actually like the groups when it comes to community-based. So we need to understand like how they have the compatibility with their own actually like groups when the money matters. When money is being actually like discussed as whether it is earned or spent. So how they actually like meaningfully they spend, and also participation and all this. So here it matters like how the key aspects are being understood when it comes to general financial literacy and also like the literacy of community-based things. So again, like the community-based financial literacy, when it comes to like why this particular approach that we need to understand, or how this really functions when it comes to the village level or among rural workers. You can see this involves like the local language, cultural relevance, peer learning. For example, like peer learning, you can see many groups in rural areas. They are actually like having the behavior, financial behavior with the mixed actually approaches. They don't have any status quos. A person who is actually like just passed, let's say, 12th standard, is ready to actually like teach how to like approach the financial aspect to the elderly person. So they don't have actually like a kind of a difference or the gap when it comes to a kind of financial discussion in the rural space so far. So this is how actually like we need to understand how community based financial literacy that really works, and the main actually like aspects how actually the financial aspects or which are functioning at group level. For example, like in rural space, you have many groups. So many institutions that they have. I think I can have some attention from the last. Excuse me. I think I can have some. Your voice is little like overriding my percentage. I think if you could pay some attention, that will be fine. You can also consider this is a kind of class where you can learn something. You can take some aspects or points from these financial aspects that I think that may be new to you. Okay, as students, I think you may be understanding how it's really functioning at the community level. You know how you are dealing with that, but how community are actually understanding and practicing this, money aspects or financial literacy, that could be really useful to you. Okay, so I think that will be making sense also. So you can see like community-based literacy is a kind of collective actions. So how they are engaging these community-based things and how they are empowering, it matters a lot. For example, like if anyone is actually from rural areas, you observe that a person's actually your parent or like someone actually like who is coming to your village as a individual rural worker. Okay, you might have observed. For example, my case, I observed like there is a difference. How rural financial institutions like these SHGs and farmer production organizations or cooperatives or NGOs and panchayat, you can see how they are collaboratively working in an organized manner and getting actually like the knowledge of financial literacy. Take the case of other things. The individuals, rural workers who are actually having their own business in the rural setting. So what happens? For example, like I tell you from my experience, you have the merchants, okay? So a merchant actually like he used to deliver actually like milk every day, individual. See, actually, like, never actually takes note down. Okay, how many? I mean, in a day, how many liters you are buying it, and I mean, she is actually having trust in her. Actually, like, the way of business. So you see, never actually like note down or like all this. And then what actually happens? There was a neighbor actually like he was actually asking about it, inquiring about it. Like this particular day, you noted that. I mean, you are saying. I mean, at the end of month, she used to give a bill. Okay, based on her memory, based on the everyday like she actually like supplies. Okay, so at the end of the month, she used to give a bill. So what actually happened? Like the neighbor used to ask her a question. So why did you actually like increase this one, like half little extra like this you have served, I mean supplied like that. So the merchant he was like telling that no, I was correct. I was actually like giving the exact. I mean, I used to write it whenever I supply and then go back home. I actually like note down or ask actually my family members to note down, and that way I'm actually like doing it right. But the neighbor also saying I'm also noting down. Then the issue actually is not settled. Now we understand like the financial literacy of an individuals who face challenges, okay, and you can also see like the financial literacy gained actually by the team as a team, let's say self-help group or voluntary with the help of voluntary organization or cooperatives. The same actually like milk supply, you can see that when it comes to cooperative milk supply, it's being more accountable. It's being actually like it's being more organized like that. You can see the incident and how that really leading to a kind of financial issues on a particular scenario. So far, this is a kind of day-to-day scenario you may not be probably observing, but you can see that people who are coming from like your rural side, you better actually have a kind of discussion that how they manage with the local merchants as well as the merchants who are formed associations like self-help groups, cooperative work like all these things. So cooperative, I mean the collective or organized groups are having more advantage than the individual person who is actually having this financial kind of thing. So you can see that this is how financial things are being actually like understood from the different scenarios in the rural aspect. So you can also see the financial literacy initiatives by Government of India also, like Pradhan Mantri's Jan Dhan Yojana and National Rural Livelihood Missions, Direct Benefit Transfer, Digital India, and all these things. So any one of like audience, can you just let me know, or can you just share any one observation or based on your experience, how this is really benefiting the promotion of like literacy, financial literacy to people, especially like rural workers. Yes, anyone? For example, like Digital India we started in 2015. Now it's more than I think you can see 10, 11 years. So you see like how it has reached its actual like impact. So there are a lot of statistics on this where we had actually like improved a lot, but still it has like its own the issues. For example, like it promoted like workers and farmers like connectivity in the digital platform, but failed to provide the basic things. For example, like infrastructure kind of things. So in villages, you can also see like the poor internet kind of connection. So you can see such kind of issues still that actually like basically arises, and that's how many of the government actually programs when it comes to the digital initiatives are making rural workers into like the financial literacy that becomes some kind of issue in this. So though we have a lot of initiatives, but it has its own limitations as well. So the data shows like more than 96% of rural households we have like bank accounts kind of things, and more than 50% of people who are having accounts under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, and in National Family Health Survey you can see the women holding accounts more than, I mean, that raised from 50 to points to 79%. And NABARD actually like in the kind of their linkage with the self-help group, they have raised to the concerns like achievement one, I mean 177.5 million rural families are being benefited of that. So and the last one is like very interesting, like 85.5 at Indian households possess at least one smartphone. So you can see like how smartphones like is being playing the way for the financial literacy. But of 85.5, what could be like the rural families are having the possessing the smartphones, and how that makes sense when it comes to financial activities. So I actually like had some glimpse of like literatures that we can understand from Indian and international scenarios. So the Indian and international scenarios, especially like the rural workers context. So it's being observed that like it's really helping or promoting economic empowerment, and you can also see like overall like in the international scenario, Africa and South Asia countries are actually having drastically improved a lot, especially in their livelihood and farm products, agricultural products, and all these things. That has actually like elevated the status of like rural workers, especially whoever actually or whichever the groups, organization they are actually institution they are being having their so forth. This is a case of like the Indian and international actually scenario when it comes to the financial literacy. So still we understand the gap, like though we have a lot of achievements, digital initiatives, but the gap remains like financial literacy, financial knowledge, and financial inclusion so far. And also accountability. I told you one example how that accountability matters so far. So these things are still are being actually like less addressed or unaddressed. And you can see the financial literacy aspects of the successful aspects of like the community-based institutions, community-based groups, especially like self-help groups. I think we all know self-help groups. Even I hope like this college is having some kind of self-help groups, initiatives or products being sold actually like here. So products and kind of things. So you can also see like how they are accountable for that. So they are accountable for savings and entrepreneurship activities and all these things. But the issue comes like let's say the collective bargaining on sharing the economic activities kind of things, the financial aspects of. So that becomes a kind of like issue when it comes to the self-help group. Of course, digital finance literacy is another need of things where the rural workers are finding it actually like challenging, because the way they are well acquainted with the traditional aspects of financial services or financial activity. For example, they are known for cash transactions, but when it comes to cashless transaction, it matters a lot. When they are actually having improving a lot on the financial literacy, digital literacy, what really matters. So it has to, there are like kind of issues also being arising. That's why they are having actually a great doubt on, reluctancy on practicing the whole thing about financial things. For example, it involves a lot of risk factors, cyber frauds or digital exclusions, lack of awareness kind of things. So here with these differences, with these difficulties, for example, like you can see, we might have received a phone call from a person who is there in the North India and saying that you have to tell about your the ATM card credentials. So he'll talk with your local language, and then he'll be asking about these things. So you can see like villages are the victims of those kind of calls. So they are being victim of these things. They are not aware that this is actually a wrong call, cyber crime related call. They don't aware. They used to actually they think that okay, we have to update so forth. So there are a lot of scenarios where these risk factors associated with the digital financing. That's why still they are relying on the traditional aspects of cash transactions or money, hard money actually transactions. So, of course, challenges also there. As basic challenges, they do face their challenges like poverty and illiteracy. Where that is a basic kind of the criteria where that decides whether the person should go for the digital literacy or should actually go with the cash actually transaction kind of thing. So it involves a lot of gender issues also, gender barriers and social exclusion, low awareness like this. For example, gender aspects you can see it also an important aspects that we can have a kind of awareness on it. So did you observe your parents in general, villages, your family in villages? Okay, I think this is another scenario I can give it to you. Excuse me. I can give you another scenario where how the financial literacy challenges we are experiencing in our real life scenarios. For example, the parents actually you can see your father and mother, okay, and the parents or the family in the rural setting. So how they actually approach the financial aspects of that. When it comes to income and expenditure, both aspects. Earlier days, okay, they used to actually have, women used to handle, the cash on the what are the income or the expenditure, and it was a very careful, kind of practices or the behavior we observed. But because of these things, you can see when the people are holding and having two different accounts, okay, there is a lot of scope for how gender is being involved in the financial or digital aspects of sorry. So here it involves the genders when it comes to male and female who are holding accounts, even in the family, it makes lot of actual differences. It makes lot of the practices where there is a lot of ways people, the gender aspects are creating the problem in the rural families so far. So let's say the male in the family who is the father in the family who is managing the accounts, due to any other reasons or no reasons, the account is being taken or the expenditure is being taken. So even without informing to the spouse, without informing to the wife. So that was actually that has been a kind of scenario where you are being emerging even that's reflecting in the rural aspect. So these are all actually the difficult challenges that we observe. Of course, when it comes to addressing the policy level things or policy recommendation for improving financial literacy of rural workers, you can see it has to be, especially the institutional groups has to be strengthened more. Did you observe the self-help groups or any member in your family who is there, who is attached with or who is with self-help groups? If you are actually having any members, you can see that how they are being part of financial transaction kind of things. Earlier days, they used to go to the bank and pay whatever the financial things that has been taking place for about a particular week or a particular month. So you can see that still that practice kind of things are continuing. So it's not actually being either advanced or updated kind of things. I hope you're getting the point. So any actually community-based groups, okay, especially self-help groups, see that they are still are in a situation to practice this kind of the traditional aspects, or they have to wait for a long time when they are paying or dealing with the financial thing with the banking institution. So it has to be actually advanced, and therefore the policy has been actually can be very much actually practiced by considering the real time scenarios so far. So here you can see the policy recommendation not just focused with community-based groups alone, but also the institutions are responsible for this. For example, not only banking, but it also you can also see the academic institutions. Let's say all academic institutions who are, whether they are, that is actually like situated near to like rural areas, whether it is semi-urban or it is actually located in rural areas. Remember, it has its own like responsibilities. For example, like they can conduct actually kind of rallies or like campaigns where they can, they can promote like digital transaction kind of things or digital financial literacy kind of things. So therefore, actually, like you can see, it is not just banking or the professional institutions which are involving in policy level aspect, but even academic institutions, even students. It's not just only commerce students, but students actually like or the institutional actually support. They can actually go to the rural, the groups and educate that how financial literacy can be improved so far. These kind of like practices are already actually being there, but I think how far like number of institutions that they are actually increasingly conducting these things. So I think that matters a lot, because if you look at the real-time scenario, not all the education institutions are effectively involving in promoting financial literacy of rural workers, but it's being like very less institutions which are very close to villages are involved in that aspect. I hope like you are getting it. So therefore, I think educational institutions or non-actualized professional institutions also should come forward in bringing actual like changes in rural workers. So the future directions are there, like we need to integrate all, because like workers, rural workers are different. Some rural workers are like organized, some rural workers are individuals, some rural workers are doing multiple roles. You know, they are actually like involving like day night kind of like entrepreneurial activities or like daily wages and whole lot of other things. So you can see that they are doing actually, whether it is the works are being seasoned or unseasoned, they are actually like now they are doing multiple kind of tasks so far. So you can see like the future directions where if you are integrating all these things. For example, like financial literacy, digital literacy, entrepreneurial activities, all these things, I think we can have a great impact. So I think by concluding this financial literacy of rural workers, of course, you can see like some of the important aspects which are already addressed. For example, like this really makes sense when it comes to a tool of empowerment, a tool of social development, or a tool of economic sustainable development. Yes, it does. But what in the ground level reality is so far? For example, a community-based financial literacy service or activities or design shouldn't end up with caste-based or gender-based kind of things. I hope actually you are getting the point. So, how far like it eradicates the differences when it comes to a collective community-based literacy so far. Because often we think that community is something related to caste. Community is something related to a specific category. No. Community is, in sociological terms, it's a kind of group of people that they engage in a kind of like way of living or activity so far. So you can see that the collective activities, community-based activities shouldn't end up with a community-based or class-based or gender-based kind of thing. So I think that will make a lot of sense. In addition to that, cashless, I think many villages or rural workers are having that reluctancy to move to like digital literacy, because that there are like lot of risk at digital aspects. If you're making sense when it comes to reducing the gap, and they will be actually like reduce the bargaining level, because in rural aspects, rural workers, they very much known for bargaining things. When it comes to cash, they are very good. They are very sound in terms of financial service. But when it comes to like digital aspects, they are not. They are thinking this is something a foreign element. This is a kind of foreign practice kind of things. So the rural workers, they think that when it come to cash kind of transactions, they feel a kind of trust towards that, and they think that it's a strength to me. I can bargain like that. But whereas digital aspects, they feel that they don't have the control over financial aspect, because they do not have the knowledge, adequate knowledge on the digital space so far. So that's why they are having actually this dilemma, and that makes like less participation or less actual like practice of digital literacy so far. And I think for this we need to actually like, I mean, again, we need to raise the financial literacy, especially like the inclusion aspects. So the financial inclusion, as long as financial inclusions are there, I think the fear of like the cashless transactions or the service by actually rural people, rural works may not be there, and they can find a kind of like successful financial literacy. I think this is a beautiful quote that you can understand, like especially this conveys the whole practice of rural workers here. For example, like empowering rural workers financially, not just merely an economic investment, but it is an investment of like, you know, raising like the dignity, okay, and the sustainability and social justice of like many categories of rural workers in the rural scenario. So I thank like the organizer for having this wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts on this particular topic. Now I actually like wish to have like any response from the audience in terms of like any questions or observations. If I have like any queries, questions or observations, we'll be happy like to address that. Yes. So I hope like you are super active, at least spectators, but I hope you had a discussion on this, on the presenter or on the presentation context. Okay, that is actually absolutely up to you. Okay, whether you had a kind of discussion about the context of like presentation or any actual like clarification on this. So you are welcome to actually share about your observation or your questions, so that I will be happily address that. I hope I can stop. If there is no questions, I can stop. So thank you very much for your patience. Thank you very much.
Dr. M. Mariraj, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Sri Kaleshwari College, Sivagachi, Tamil Nadu, and co-chaired by Mr. Ramesh Babu Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Sociology, New College, Chennai. I hand over the session to our chair, the sociology students, and also now I invite Dr.
கோடிங் தெரியாத மாதிரி வச்சுருந்தேன். இப்போ எனக்கு தெரியாது.
ஐயா லைவ்ல இருக்கீங்க.
எத்தனை பேர் வராங்க? 2 பேர்.
அதில் வந்து
ஒரே வாடத்தான் நாங்கள் போனாலும்
Good afternoon all. Is it okay? Is it audible? So again, good afternoon. Probably people would have seen me in the morning session for a different scenario. And now I'm presenting my paper. I did my PhD in, I don't know where to fix my field. Like my field is development, sociology of development, and I fixed my PhD work on freedom aspects of women, and specifically my sample was microcredit women receivers in Coimbatore, more or less similar to SHG. The term SHG you can apply to them, but still I would claim it as microcredit receivers because I took SHG, microfinance institutions, both are different concepts, I mean both are different practices, so it's a different thing. Okay, I know putting a tool development paper or a scenario for a group of people who are new to research is quite unusual, or you people are not aware about it. But I'm very keen that all UG or PG, any students would be doing project work, and you would have something called as paper, tool development, something if you belong to social field. So in that notion and assumption, I'm continuing my presentation. So I'll be a bit fast with major things because I just wanted to say how usually the tool is being framed. So the title of my paper is Beyond Standardized Measures, Developing a Contextual Financial Literacy Skill for Women Microcredit Receivers in Coimbatore. So what I intend here is that usually what we do when we start a research is that we do a literature review, we do have tools, we take tools or the concepts which is widely available. And we see if it is related to our subject or our field of investigation, and we'll adopt it, we'll give citations and credits to the authors, and we'll proceed with the data collection. But what I thought in the terms of financial literacy is, as I said in the morning session, it's been universally defined as the acquisition of financial access to the resources or the financial products and services defined by OECD. So what I thought is financial literacy cannot be applied so. It is a very contextual oriented concept, because as in the previous presentation you would have learned that it's something very typical to the people. You can't take financial literacy of one person equating it to the other person, because everyone have different financial literacy. Like you and me will have different financial literacy, and holding money or earning an income is not equal to having a financial literacy. I think you would be clear with that. Just because I give money to you, I can't expect you to have money management skills. So the same apply for having financial literacy also as a concept. So what I thought is this universal definition of financial literacy as held by OECD or that's been adopted by RBI in terms of India. So these kind of universal agreed concepts cannot be taken for my research or specifically for any research in that manner, which is very much bound with the context. Because as I said, my research respondents were microcredit receivers in Coimbatore who have typical characters like living in a nuclear family or in a joint family in a Tamil society, and their literacy level, their cultural background, their patriarchal cultural system or their gender traditional roles. Like, these things are very pertinent to a context. So we can't have universal definition in these contexts. So my aspects were in that manner, saying that the financial literacy had a gap, which means one, it has to be contextualized. Second thing, the tools that's been available in the global scenarios again, they will be testing your numeracy skills, like do you know to calculate percentage, do you know what's the interest rate, do you know the inflation rates of the current world, do you know the money exchange rate, do you know how to invest your savings or how many percent. These are the standardized questions that they have in the universal or in the global scenario. So what I thought is, this is not something called as financial literacy. This is basically a mathematical skill. And this is basically a money management mechanism that you can teach them in schools and colleges. So this is a wider concept. You can't claim this to be a financial literacy skill. So I thought we need to have a different kind of a tool when I want to measure financial literacy. So I found the goal is to define my financial literacy, which I operationalize. Second thing, I develop a tool on my own with the respondents. And third, how can I do it? What justification I'll give for that is that, again, I get back to Amartya Sen, who said that capability approach where you can have subjective approach of freedom, because people are the one who is going to have the freedom, so let the user decide what they want. So that is the key area which I felt, and this is the review of literature for this. So I have taken all the available international scales or the tools or the questionnaires or the concepts that's been available, like specifically OECD, since 2012, which I saw from literature, 2012, 14, 16, 22, 23. So all these 20 till 24 OECD has different versions of financial literacy scales and development tool mechanisms, like focusing on younger generation, school curriculum, adult, retirement planning, and we have in other areas also, like in RBI they are focusing on the investors financial literacy, or SEBI is also focusing on investors financial literacy. So these are some commonly available tools in the global scenario. And what I felt missing is this operationalization. The context-oriented, culture-bound financial literacy is missing anywhere. And I am focusing on microcredit receiving women and who are having a different reality from the world economies that we are seeing. Like as I said in the morning, OECD is for 30 developed countries. I mean, it's being organized by 30 developed countries, and obviously we can't compare their literacy level with what our women face in their daily reality. So I thought their reality accounts here. So the methodology that I used for framing the tool is that my entire PhD work comes under a paradigm called transformative research paradigm, and here I saw social injustice everywhere, I see patriarchy, and I wanted to see the power inequality existing within the communities. So that was my transformative paradigm, and in that paradigm, what are the instruments I used to collect the data? To frame my tool is, I used in-depth interview with stakeholders, I did FGD, I had literature survey, and I also finalized my tool with in a questionnaire format, and I went for a pre-testing also. So it is basically a movement from a qualitative process to a quantitative process. So I started with a qualitative in-depth interview, and then I went for conceptualization of my constructs, items, finalizing it, validating it, and finally I went for a tool development. So this is how my scale has been extracted. From the narratives that I received from the participants, like from the pilot study that I did with the participants, I got the narratives, I coded it, then I extracted the themes from it, and then the themes were converted into constructs, like all those typical thematic analysis was done with the narratives. So from the narratives, I got the concepts, and from the concepts, I related the concepts with the standardized concepts, like the OECD concepts, what they say as financial literacy, and I equated with the narratives, what I received. So from that, I went for item formulation, like each construct had few items, and these items were derived from the participants. Like I went for a participant FGD, and I asked them what they felt about that construct and what they wanted to be included. As I said, my research is a transformative research. I need to have participants in each and every field or in every phase of my research. So I involved every one of them or the main stakeholders throughout the research process till my analysis and findings also. So finally, expert validation was done with the tool, and pre-testing was carried on. So as I said, the data analysis initially from the narratives, I went for verbatim transcription, then translation, then social translation was done, which is to mean that the functional value of whatever we speak. Like, though you record everything from the interview, you can't include everything in your thesis work or for the construction of your tool. You have to make it functionally relevant to your subject or the research work. So that kind of functional equivalence was done, and then inductive coding was used to find the major concepts, and from that thematic analysis was done and constructs were identified. Those identified constructs were matched with the standardized tools, and from the standardized tools, again pilot study was done with the participants and items were constructed. From the items, the pre-testing was made ready. So what is very typical, and this is my sampling size, I have different sampling techniques. So this is first sampling technique, it's like with the 25 stakeholders, purposive sampling was used, like all the end users, like microcredit users, bookkeepers, representatives, NGO officers, bank officials, community development officers, both government and NGO, private MFI agents and clients were also involved, and also spouse and family members were also involved to know the reality of women, what exactly women feel after getting into this SHG and how do they financially feel they are literate or included. So for that kind of context, I included 25 stakeholders, and so these are the same thing, like what and all I did with them. I got to know that money management is something different from holding a money, and you can't simply conceptually ask them what you will do if I give you 10 rupees or 20 rupees. You literally have to give them money and make them live with the money so that they'll get to know what they are doing. So what I did is I selected microcredit for that reason only. That's why I was confused where to pitch my study. So microcredit, I studied every woman will be having money, and with the money they are going to run a family. So with the money, with the necessities in the family, how they are going to match it up and how they are going to save it. This is the concept for me for the entire study, and that's the major line for money is real money that we are talking. It's not the concepts that you assume for people to measure. Second thing is about the household decision making. Household decision making, which was shocking for me in the earlier phase, is that it's not like education or patriarchy is deciding their decisions. We assume that it's always men who take decisions, but it's both in the cases. How it's it? If people, both male and female, are high education, high school completed or higher secondary completed, just school dropouts or something like that, both take decisions equally. But in the other way around, if women or men is graduated or both are graduated with higher education degree, men only take decisions. Women don't take decisions. So here again, you can't claim that education is one of the character for making joint decisions or household decisions. In the other way around, if woman is not educated also, men is making decisions. If the men is not educated also, some cases women is making decisions. So education, you can't claim that to be something that you can relate it for financial literacy or for household money management. So it has a different connotation. And if you go with rural-urban difference also, it's not the same. You can't claim or say that urban women are more financially literate and rural women are less financially literate. Actually, in my cases, it was reverse. Urban women were more dependent on men, and rural women were more independent in taking decisions. So in that also, many of the stereotypes where like I broke various stereotypes here. So that was one of the key finding for me, and which I included for my tool. And the third one is social financing. Social financing is the major concept that made me to look into something else called social capital in the later period, which is out of our objective for the day's class. So social financing is like when you are in group only, you learn the concept. So if I individually call someone and ask them about how do you manage money, will you buy this thing, will you don't buy this thing, I give you this money. So if I ask questions individually, they don't actually reply in a proper way. Whereas in case of social financing, where people are in a group and when they get to know each other and they get to know the lives of other people, they compare their lives and they make decisions in a proper rational manner. So this is again another learning that financial literacy has to take in notion. So the next stage was comparing the constructs, the narrative derived constructs and the final standardized concepts also. So this was validated through the experts, through face validity, through content and construct validity. Quantitatively we measured it. And for this confirming the items, whatever items I collected, I need to confirm whether I was right or not. So for that purpose, participatory mapping was done with the receivers, SHG or the microgrid receivers. I went there and I asked them whether these are the problems they have, or is this the way that I have to construct the tool. So I confirmed with them. So I make sure that about the non-repayment I'm asking them, or about the accountability of the group leaders and all those. Then the third way of sampling was my pre-testing. So I constructed the tool. The tool had 6 constructs and 48 items and 5 constructs. With that I went with the pre-testing. Pre-testing was done with 56 members. That is 10% of my major study. So with that I did my pre-testing and I had corrections. I had high variance statistical errors happening in my pre-testing tool. So I went back with the corrections, I just got to know what are the gaps I had. So what I thought is there was high redundancy and people were unable to understand my statements. For example, when I asked them, like, do you own an ATM card? Do you change your PIN often? Do you remember, do you know to use your UPI? These were sometimes considered to be very common questions and people agreed all together. So this is statistically, it will not work out when you go with this kind of statements. And in the other way around, people are not able to understand what I was asking. Like, I asked them, are you aware about the fraudulent messages and phishing that is happening through emails and messages? This question was something new for someone like rural women doing a street vendor job. So they don't bother about the messages that they get or about the emails that they get. So it's not at all relevant to the context. So these kind of questions made me to rethink and reconstruct my tool. So from the pre-testing, again I changed my tool and finalized my tool for from the second stage of 48 items. Now I constructed and finalized into 34 items. And from 5 constructs, I made it into 6 constructs. And from 3-point Likert scale, I moved into 5-point Likert scale. So why I did all those things is because of the statistical variance or because of the values, like we have something called as Cronbach alpha, reliability test and validity test. So in those tests, I wasn't able to converge with one another item. Items has to converge with each other. So all the items did not converge and most of the items had higher variance or zero variance, like the extreme cases were found. So in that cases, I removed the items which is not relevant to the study and I felt the whichever items I felt like it's most repetitive and it is confusing, it's not simple or single oriented, single objective oriented, those items were removed. And finally, this is the reason that how the tool has changed. From the 48 to 34, how the tool has moved. So the redundancy was removed, the increased for statistical performance was maintained, and I have to go with the stick-on with the 5-point Likert scale because that is a standardized format, so I have to go with that. And all these things was done with the proper statistical techniques like content validity, index was tested, conversion and discriminated statistics was there, the values are existing, like I think I displayed it. Yeah. These are the values that I got from that. And correlation, inter-item correlation and item total correlation was checked. Finally, Cronbach alpha was also collected and checked, and we found to know it's validate to go for the final tool. So I did the final tool. I was keep on saying that my tool has to be contextually there. So what was the contextual relevance that I had for the study is that when we are talking about the microcredit women who are living in the reality without much use of the technology, we have to make sure that we are taking examples from their life. So I started asking questions from their lively examples like how do you manage your microcredit? Do you use it?
No time, you directly go to the result.
So these were the ways that I constructed my tool. With this, finally, as I said, from the 5 constructs, I made it into 6 dimensions. These are the finalized dimensions adopting from all the statements. So financial knowledge, financial awareness, skills, attitude, planning, and inclusion. These are my finalized tool constructs, and I had both positive scoring and negative reverse scoring, and the reason is that I have to stick with the environment, and that's how this tool has been considered. So what the tool is coming to tell is that it's locally grounded, it is distinct from the universal or globalized standardized scales. Third, it is freedom-centric. The participants framed the tool and I was just moderating them. And methodologically, it follows transformative research trying to break the hierarchy. And in the policy-oriented aspects, it's a community-driven governance. The community on the whole is taking together. And for the sociology, it is trying to shift the power, not applying top-down approach, but it is applying bottom-to-top approach. Thank you.
One nice presentation, no? Any questions from audience? Audience, any questions? I have one doubt, ma'am. You study financial literacy. Yeah. Financial literacy means we are saving our money or how to manage our money. Yeah. So our family members are, one family members have the 5 or 6 members are there. So one person is saving the money, think it and saving the money. So other 5 members or 3 members are not focusing the saving the money. How to solve this problem?
Sir, we cannot have generalized answer for it, because it depends upon the dependency level of the family. If the people, as you said, 5 or 6 of the 6 members in the family, if the other members are dependent member and if there is only one earning member, so obviously we can expect, like if it is a father, grandparents, or it's a kid or something like that, we can't expect them to earn money. So the earning member is obviously that one person. Saving money in that context, it's the duty of the responsible earner to make their family to spend the money judicially. And that's why we have this plan of financial literacy. We make only the earning member or someone who is spending to do it in a very judicious manner. So, because they will be the one who is going to spend. So the earner and the spender has to make sure that they spend it in a proper, and they have to do it in the savings has to be put forth. Savings is important, retirement planning. So that awareness has to be given to them. For that reasons only, probably we have framed the financial literacy itself. Like you have to be aware about your consequences, tomorrow's retirement planning, future investment. So this can be done only by the earner and the spender. Probably same person or can be a different people also. But we can't expect the dependents to do this. This is what I feel from.
Very warm evening to one and all present here. It gives me immense pleasure to stand here after maybe a couple of years. Yes, when I was a program coordinator, I used to stand very often. I thank Dr. Yasik sir for giving this opportunity, and Dr. Dinesh, head in charge, for inviting us for this wonderful occasion. This presentation, I want to flag two things. Anyone can speak about financial literacy, that doesn't matter. But her presentation, she mentioned that it is contextual specific or contextual driven. There are many people, they have pros, they are depending on this financial manager or actively mutual fund. It doesn't mean that they have pros. They have knowledge to manage their fund, money. That doesn't actually they do not. So in that regard, what she has mentioned is absolutely correct. We can generally speak about financial literacy, but sociologically speaking, that matters a lot. That's what the sociological understanding to interpret anything is very important. We notice that if the person says financial literacy, that managing the money, it's not about that depositing the money in various instruments. It is not. We have to, if you want to have financial literacy, you need to know how to manage, how to multiply that money. That only few people know. The other thing is social financing. I myself notice in my field that there are many women, they don't know anything about money, dealing the money or managing the money. Even if they have hundreds, few thousands, they don't know. The moment they get along with this social SPG, there is a group like SPG. The moment they get along or enroll themselves in a group, that SPG, they started to learn slowly. These are the few things she highlighted very beautifully. And I know her, when we invited her, she came and enlightened our students. In the morning also I told her that, the way she approaches sociology, that differs from people whom I always see and met. But methodologically, our methodology is highly loaded because she has already completed her PhD. We cannot comment on. But I come from the school of M.N. Srinivas, Clifford Geertz, Michael Fisher, all these things. We are purely ethnography or qualitative thing. So I don't have any comment on that, to comment on her methodology part. But conceptually, she has done a beautiful job. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir, for your insightful words. Now, I invite Ms. Vinika Ramakrishnan, Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore.
Good afternoon. My name is Vinika, and my topic for today's presentation is Beyond FinTech Adoption, Reconceptualizing Digital Financial Inclusion through the Social Realities of Rural Handloom Weavers. So the global transformations into the network societies, especially based on technology, has given rise to a newer kind of digital inclusion, exclusion kind. And this digital financial inclusion is often associated only with digital adoption. So if we have digital adoption, then it means digital financial inclusion is what people say. But there's no proper consensus of who we target, how we target, and what context the digital financial inclusion completely means and everything. So weavers are second to agriculturals. They have the highest workforce in the country, and they have a kind of pre-colonial importance in the textile industry as well. They are mostly underplayed, and in this paper I will focus on the rural handloom weavers of Coimbatore, the Sirumugai region. And they are mostly working in formal cooperative sectors, but very informal. The literature review mostly focuses the financial fintech adoption in the field of digital literacy, trust security, digital financial inclusion for capability access, the risk associated with it, and the social realities of weavers are mostly seen as economically downtrodden and caste-based structure with the feminization of the work doing. But there is a research gap of how exactly this financial utilization is converted into meaningful financial inclusion and a comprehensive economic development and economic security. The research objectives for the study focuses majorly about the social realities of the people and the structure in the rural handling sector, as well as the factors that influence in conversion of this factors into digital financial inclusion. And the theoretical framing was majorly taken from the digital capital theory and the third level digital divide of Rathneda and Ruri, and the social embedded theory. So the digital capital theory drawn from the Brodeshin capital, it also focuses on the digital capital as the fifth type of capital. And there are three types of digital divide, three levels of digital divide. First is based on the physical level, and second the usage or the mental level, and finally the output level of how the physical and the mental aspects are converted into the output and outcome that they have given. So this output mostly tells about the Matthew effect and a kind of cumulative advantage, making the rich richer and the poor poorer. And this also tells us about the cycle of exclusion theory, which is socially embedded in the structural aspects. So that is about the theoretical framing, and this structural aspects in the social embeddedness theory tells about the inclusion factors, the structure, the functions of the society, and how people are interacted, the network of how they are interrelated with each other, one another, and the vulnerability that is happening because of the community surveillance and the kind of interaction and the thickness that they have among themselves. So very suitable for the rural handloom weavers because they are very caste-based and a community-driven group. And the research paradigm is constructivist and individualism, and with the ongoing reflexivity, it uses an explanatory qualitative research technique. And the study area was in the villages of Alamumba and Sirmulai town panchayat. And the reason is because they have a historical significance and they were mostly recognized as the important substitutes or important contributors to the Coimbatore manufacturing technology. That's why they gave the manufacturing units there. And also the inclusive criteria was that the people need to have smartphones, they have to use UPIs, and they have to do some kind of digital payment or be a part of the e-commerce, and use in-depth semi-structured interview play, focusing on the patterns of usage, and the sampling technique was purposive, and the data was analyzed through thematic analysis and coding. This is the participant summary and this is the picture of the participant. From the participant and the methodology, there was two major themes that evolved. The first one is the socially embedded institutional logics of artisan livelihood, which tells about the norms, cultures, and the social realities of the rural weavers that are in the village. And the second one is cooperative institutional logics, where they live only as a cooperative societies, and as already mentioned in the theory, this thick and rigidity among themselves makes it very hard for them to move out of the structure, because one small change or problem in the node becomes a huge problem for the entire society, and they are very stuck with the cooperatives and the sense of togetherness and we feeling. So that is mostly seen as a positive aspect, but here that is also seen as a way through which they are unable to improve. And kinship is seen as a productive infrastructure where the family and kinships are seen as agencies through which they produce, and the individual decision-making capacity is not there because it is a collective shared ownership access. And occupational identity and artisan selfhood is very less among them because they see themselves as wage laborers over artisans. And the reconfiguration of occupational futures, because they think investment in the business is not very good, and investment in the kids might earn them better future. And through the kids, the consumption utility comes into play, and the intergenerational mobility and migration of the people or the children into different places gives them an economic security is their idea. And they also mentioned that they were brought in through migration during the Vijayanagara Empire, and now again migrating for another reason is not a very big deal for them, is what they mentioned. And from the socially structured realities, there are few asymmetries that are seen in the digital financial participation. So majorly it is the consumption production asymmetry, where people are using UPI IDs, Amazon, Flipkart. They are okay with ordering products on Meesho, but they are not okay with using it for entrepreneurial activities. And finally, the paradox of digital trust, whereas they are selectively trusting it when it comes to UPI or Amazon, then they have to pay it in that aspect. But in the other ways, they are finding it difficult for that. And the idea of convenience needs and the basic needs play a very important here. So they are not able to use it for production or for their own development. And finally, this digital spaces, as mentioned earlier, has given the third kind of digital divide where artisan consciousness itself is not there. And since because of that, the social, economic and cultural capital are being low and the digital capital is also less, they are finding it difficult to work with the entire network. And the economic literacy itself in the first hand becomes the problem. So if for development and changes, there should be first economic literacy and economic development and the sense of true artisan consciousness over wage labor. And ground level interventions also might help, and there are few ways like the geographical identification and they have applied in the November 2025, and if that is being provided, maybe that would be helpful for developing the community as a whole.
Nice presentation, ma'am. Any questions from audience? Ma'am, first of all, I have a doubt, ma'am. Digital trust, ma'am. So many products are available in the e-commerce products. So some products are quality and very quality. We buy the product from the e-commerce and we are trusted. Some of the product or quality is very, very less. So people are not trusting that product. So how to solve that problem?
Sir, the idea of trust that was given here was not because they are using the trust to buy or order products from Amazon Meesho. But to do the same kind of business online, they are not able to trust it. UPI, they are able to use UPI to on a normal basis. Order, they are able to do it. They are able to order. They are using it only for their consumption purpose. But as artisans or as businessmen, they are not trying to make it into economic activity for themselves and development.
Yes, ma'am, I understand the UPI digital money is economically developing our business. I understand that. Okay, thank you. Sir, any question?
It's a very good presentation again. So, what is the implication of Purdue on this? Because you mentioned that cultural, social capital, and digital capital. And is this a specific community who is involved in this, or different kinds of community people doing or engaging this?
So for the first question, the theory that I took was from Ranganara and Viruli. They have adopted it from Purdue. My theoretical framework is only from them, but they have adopted it from Purdue. The title itself is Digital Capital, a Bordesian Perspective. So it is a continuity of Bordesian capital and into the digital spaces and the digital capital. And the second question, it is only focusing on the rural weavers, especially the handloom weavers who are very authentic to Coimbatore region, especially the Sirumugai side.
Is this the same particular community involved or more than one community people involved in this?
Sir, there was only one community people involved, and it is a community caste based society, and that is the kind of cooperative living that they are doing. But the cooperative society that they are associated with is the government cooperative.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, students, feedback. I will show you. Okay.
10 minutes later.
How is the approach can understand financial and profit
In the next presentation, I will come here for definition like discussing the everyone with the intellectual so very interesting about the political
He's already like so he will be the research associate for
No, you initiated for that, so I really appreciate Professor Gandhi. I really
You can join the library page outside.
ஷேர் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். லைஃப் ஸ்டைல் பார்த்தாருன்னா தெரிஞ்சு போயிட்டாங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் பஸ் எடுத்து சாப்பிடுவாங்க.
the best in your future subject. To carry on your research with great potential, excellent presentation was brilliant, concept is good. You need to work hard more and more so that you will get the good result. All the very best. Now I would like to vote of thanks for the Dr. Yasir Ashraf for giving us the opportunity to gather here in this platform to share the knowledge. So it's great privilege actually, we are honored here. So thank you sir, thank you so much. If you are listening sir, thanks once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
And we are also grateful to your institute, West Institute of Science and Poetry.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you sir. Sir, shall we leave now?
If you want, you can be the manager or if you have another assignment, you can be.
Okay sir, thank you sir, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We begin the valedictory session of a two-day national seminar. I invite Dr. P.M. Padeswamy sir, Director, Research and Developmental Cell, UEGIS, to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening, everybody. Today, National Seminar on Financial Literacy, Financial Inclusion, and Economic Security on textile workers, policy perspectives and developmental challenges. இந்த 2 நாள் தேசிய கருத்தரங்கம் ICSSR நிதி உதவியுடன் மிக சிறப்பாக நடைபெற்றது. இந்த கருத்தரங்கில் ஒவ்வொரு அமர்விலும் இந்தியா முழுவதும் உள்ள அறிஞர்கள் உரையாற்றினார்கள். அதே போல அமர்வு தலைவர்களாக அறிஞர்கள் தலைமையேற்று அந்த அமர்வை மிக சிறப்பாக நடத்தி கொடுத்தார்கள். அதே போல பல கல்லூரிகளிலிருந்து பேராசிரியர்கள் மற்றும் மாணவர்கள் தங்களுடைய ஆய்வு கட்டுரையை சமர்ப்பித்ததோடு அதே நேரத்தில் நேரில் வந்து அந்த கட்டுரையை வாசித்தளித்தார்கள். அதனால் அவர்களுக்கு இந்த நேரத்தில் நம்முடைய நன்றிகளையும் வாழ்த்துக்களையும் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்வோம். ICSR நமது கல்லூரியினுடைய சோசியாலஜி துறையினுடைய தலைவர் டாக்டர் யாசிர் அஸ்ரப் அவர்கள் வழங்கிய முன்னர் அறிவித்த அந்த டைட்டிலுக்கு 2.5 லட்சம் ரூபாய் நிதி உதவி வழங்கியதோடு கல்லூரிக்கும் பெருமை சேர்த்திருக்கிறார்கள். ICSR ஃபண்டிங் கிடைக்கிறதே அப்போ அபூர்வமான இந்த காலகட்டத்தில் நமது DIT IAS கல்லூரிக்கு இந்த நிதி உதவி கிடைத்தது. அதனால் ஐசிஎஸ்ஆருக்கு இந்த நேரத்தில் நம்முடைய நன்றிகளை கல்லூரி நிர்வாகத்தின் சார்பில் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றோம். கடந்த 2 மாதங்களாக இதற்கான ஏற்பாடுகள் நடந்து கொண்டே இருந்தன. இந்த ஏற்பாடுகளை சோசியாலஜி துறையினுடைய பொறுப்பு தலைவர் டாக்டர் தினேஷ் அவர்கள், பேராசிரியர் பிரபு அவர்களும் மிக சரியாக திட்டமிட்டு இந்த 2 நாள் கருத்தரங்கை மிக சிறப்பாக நடத்தியிருக்கிறார்கள். அவர்களுக்கு உறுதுணையாக கல்லூரி நிர்வாகமும் கல்லூரி முதல்வர் மற்றும் முதன்மையர் மற்றும் பேராசிரியர்கள் மிக உதவிகரமாக இருந்தார்கள். அவர்களுக்கு இந்த நேரத்தினுடைய நன்றிகளை நிர்வாகத்தின் சார்பில் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அதே போல ஒவ்வொரு வல்லுநர்களும் மிகச் சிறப்பாக அவரவர்கள் துறையில் கைதேர்ந்த வகையில் தன்னுடைய ஆய்வு கட்டுரையை சமர்ப்பித்தார்கள். ஒவ்வொரு வல்லுநர்களுக்கும் ஐசிஎஸ்ஆர் சார்கள், கல்லூரி நிர்வாகத்தின் சார்கள் இந்த நேரத்தினுடைய நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றேன். ஏன்னா இந்த சமூகத்தில் நிதி அறிவு என்று சொல்லக்கூடிய ஃபினான்சியல் லிட்ரஸி பர்டிகுலராக டெக்ஸ்டைல் ஒர்க்கர்ஸுக்கு என்ன மாதிரி ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்குது, அதுக்கு என்ன சொல்யூஷன் என்ன என்பதையும் ஒவ்வொரு கட்டுரையும் நமக்கு தெளிவாக விளக்கினார்கள். அதே நேரத்தில் குடும்பத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய பெண்கள் எந்த அளவுக்கு நிதியை சரியாக ஃபினான்சியல் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் என்று சொல்லக்கூடிய நிதி மேலாண்மை எவ்வாறு செய்கிறார்கள் என்ற ஒரு கட்டுரை மிக சிறப்பாக அமைந்தது. ஏன்னா இந்த சமூகத்தில் ஒவ்வொரு குடும்பமும் முன்னேறுகிற பொழுதுதான் இந்த நாட்டினுடைய ஒட்டுமொத்த வளர்ச்சி முதன்மையான இடத்திற்கு வரும். அந்த வகை இந்த கருத்தரங்கம் மிக சிறப்பாக அமைந்தது. ஒரு விழிப்புணர்வை ஏற்படுத்தி இருக்கிறது என்றுதான் சொல்ல வேண்டும். இந்த கருத்தரங்கில் பங்கேற்ற ஒவ்வொரு வல்லுநர்களுக்கும் அதே போல மாணவர்களுக்கும் பேராசிரியர்களுக்கும் இந்த நேரத்தில் கல்லூரி சார்பில் அதே நேரத்தில் ஐசிஎஸ்ஆர் சார்பில் நன்றிகளை வாழ்த்துக்களை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்வதோடு இதுகாலம் இருந்து நிகழ்வை சிறப்பாக நடத்தி கொடுத்த கல்லூரியினுடைய சோசியாலஜி துறையினுடைய தலைவர் யாசிர் அசரப் அவர்கள் நேரடியாக கலந்து கொள்ளாத சூழ்நிலையில் இணைய வழியாக இணைந்து 2 நாள் அவர்கள் தன்னுடைய நிகழ்வை மிக சிறப்பாக நடத்தி கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள். அதனால் டாக்டர் யாசிர் அசரப் அவர்களுக்கும் இந்த நேரத்தில் கல்லூரி சார்பாகவும் ஐசிஎஸ்ஆர் சார்பாகவும் நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றேன். கல்லூரியின் முதல்வர் மற்றும் முதன்மையர் பல கூட்டங்கள் இருக்கின்ற காரணத்தினால் நேரடியாக வர இயலாத காரணத்தினால கல்லூரியின் முதல்வர் சார்பிலும் முதன்மையர் சார்பிலும் அதே போல இந்த கருத்தரங்கின் பொறுப்பாளர்களாக செயல்பட்ட டாக்டர் கார்த்திகா, டாக்டர் தினேஷ் மற்றும் ராதிகா அண்ட் பிரபு, சோசியாலஜி துறையினுடைய பேராசிரியர் பிரபு அவர்கள் உண்மையிலேயே கூட பக்கபலமாக இருந்து உதவி செய்த விக்னேஷ் அவர்களுக்கும் இந்த நேரத்தினுடைய நன்றி. என்றால் இளைஞர்களிடம் ஒரு பொறுப்பு படித்தால் எவ்வளவு சிறப்பாக நிகழ்வு நடந்தேன் என்பதற்கு இந்த நிகழ்வு உதாரணமாக இருந்தது என்று சொல்ல வேண்டும். ஏனென்றால் இரவு பகலாக, ஏன்னா அவங்க தூங்க போனதே நியாயமாக ஒரு 2 மணி நேரம் 3 மணி நேரம் தூங்கிப்பான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஏன்னா முந்தானத்து ஏன்னா நான் கேள்விப்பட்ட மாதிரி நிறைய ஒர்க் அன்றைக்கி பார்க்க வேண்டிய ஒரு சூழல். ஏன்னா ஒரு நேஷனல் செமினார் அப்படிங்கிற போது அதுக்கு எவ்வளவு பணி இருக்குது என்பது எனக்கு தெரியும். ஏனென்றால் நான் ஒரு 10 ஆண்டுகள் ஒரு கல்லூரியில் பணியாற்றிய பொழுது பல கருத்தரங்குகளை நடத்திய அனுபவம் இருக்கிற காரணத்தினால ஒரு கருத்தரங்கு நடத்துவது எவ்வளவு சிரமம் என்பது தெரியும். ஆனால் அதே நேரத்தில் அது சிரமம் அல்ல, அது ஒரு பயிற்சி இல்லைங்களா. அது ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் யாராவது எப்படி நம்ம ரிசீவ் பண்ணணும், அவங்களுக்கு என்ன ஹாஸ்பிட்டாலிட்டி கொடுக்குறோம், அப்படி அவங்களுக்கு என்ன அகாமடேஷன் என்ன கொடுக்குறோம், அதே நேரத்தில் இங்கே கல்லூரியில் இருக்கக்கூடிய என்னென்ன ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ் இருக்கு, அது இல்லாத போது நான் எப்படி மாற்று வழிகளை நாம் எப்படி தயார் பண்ணிக்கணும் போன்ற எல்லா வசதிகளையும் எல்லா ஏற்பாடுகளையும் மிக சிறப்பாக கவனித்துக் கொண்ட ஒவ்வொரு பேராசிரியர்கள், இதில் பங்கெடுத்துக் கொண்ட ஒவ்வொரு பேராசிரியர்களுக்கும் இந்த நேரத்தில் என்னுடைய நன்றிகளை வாழ்த்துக்களை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றோம். மேலும் மேலும் பல நிதி நிறுவனங்களுக்கு நாம் விண்ணப்பித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கின்றோம். ஒவ்வொரு நிதி நிறுவனத்திலிருந்தும் ஏதாவது ஒரு வாய்ப்பு கிடைக்கின்ற பொழுது நமது கல்லூரி இன்னும் அடுத்த நிலைக்கு போவதற்கு வாய்ப்பு அதிகம். வேறு வேறு கல்லூரியிலிருந்து இந்த பேராசிரியர்கள் வந்திருக்கிறார்கள். அவர்கள் இது போன்ற வளரும் கல்லூரிகளுக்கு உங்களுடைய மேலான ஆலோசனைகளை வழங்கும்படி இந்த நேரத்தில் கேட்டுக்கொள்கின்றேன். ஏன்னா வளர்கின்ற கல்லூரி இன்னும் பல்வேறு திட்டங்களுக்கு முன்னுதாரணமாக திகழ வேண்டும். அந்த திட்டங்களை நடைமுறைப்படுத்துகிற பொழுது என்னெல்லாம் நாம் செய்யணும் அப்படிங்கிற அந்த திட்டமிடுதலையும் இந்த கல்லூரி பேராசிரியர்களுக்கு உங்களுடைய ஆலோசனைகளை இந்த நேரத்தில் வழங்கும்படி கேட்டுக்கொள்கிறேன். இந்த கல்லூரியில் பணியாற்றி சென்றுள்ள மேலாள் பேராசிரியர் அங்கு இருக்கின்றார். அதனால் அவர்களுடைய ஆலோசனை இங்கு தேவை என்பதை இந்த நேரத்தில் கேட்டுக்கொள்கின்றேன். சோசியாலஜி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் மிக அருமையாக, ஏனென்றால் நான் இந்த கல்லூரிக்கு வருவதற்கு முன்னாலே நான் கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கேன். நிறைய ப்ரோக்ராம்ஸ் நிறைய நடத்தியிருக்கிறாங்க. யாசிர் இந்த கல்லூரியில் இருந்த பொழுதும் நிறைய நிகழ்ச்சிகள் நடத்துவதாக நான் வந்த பொழுது கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். அதே போல அதனுடைய மாணவர்கள் அது நிறைய துறைகள், என்சிசி உட்பட, ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் அண்ட் கேம்ஸ் உட்பட சோசியாலஜி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து ரொம்ப ஆக்டிவாக இருந்ததாகவும் நான் கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கேன். அதில் அந்த வகையில் சோசியாலஜி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் இன்னொரு மைல்கல்லை கட்டியிருக்கின்றது சொல்ல வேண்டும். அதில் மீண்டும் ஒரு முறை சோசியாலஜி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்டுக்கு நிர்வாகத்தின் சார்பிலும் ஐசிஎஸ் சார்பிலும் பலமான கைதட்டலோடு நம்முடைய நன்றிகளை இந்த கருத்தரங்கில் பங்கெடுத்துக் கொண்ட ஒவ்வொருவருக்கும் பங்கேற்பு சான்றிதழும் அதே போல கட்டுரை வாசித்த அவர்களுக்கும் சான்றிதழ்கள் வழங்கப்பட இருக்கின்றன. ஒவ்வொருவரும் தங்களுடைய பங்கெடுப்புக்கு ஒரு மகிழ்ச்சியோடு நாங்கள் நன்றி தெரிவித்துக் கொள்வதோடு, நீங்கள் மேலும் மேலும் இந்த கல்லூரிக்கு இதுபோன்று பல கருத்தரங்கள் நடக்கின்ற பொழுது அவசியம் வந்து செல்ல வேண்டும் என்று வேண்டி இந்த நிகழ்வை மகிழ்ச்சியோடு நிறைவு செய்கிறோம். இப்பொழுது சான்றிதழ் வழங்கும் நிகழ்வு நடைபெறும். பிரபு அவர்கள் இதை அதே போல பொறுப்பு தலைவர் டாக்டர் தினேஷ் அவர்களும் இதை அடுத்து நிகழ்த்தும்படி வேண்டுகிறேன். அதே போல எம்ஓசி மறந்துவிடக்கூடாது. நேற்று காலை முதல் இதுவரை மிகச்சிறப்பாக தன்னுடைய இணைப்பறையை மிகச்சிறப்பாக வழங்கிய பேராசிரியர்களுக்கு 2 பேராசிரியர்கள், நேற்று இருந்த பேராசிரியர்கள், அதே போல ஏனென்றால் ஒரு நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு நிறைவேற்றுவது என்பது அந்த இணைப்புரை தான். அதாவது எம்ஓசி என்று சொல்லக்கூடிய இணைப்புரை. ஏன்னா 2 இதுக்கும் கனெக்ட் பண்ணுறது அவங்களுடைய வேலை. பேசக்கூடியவங்க என்ன பேச போகிறாங்க, அடுத்தது அந்த செமினாருக்கு அது எப்படி பொருத்தமானது என்பதை மிக சிறப்பாக கோடிட்டு காட்டினார்கள். அவர்களுக்கு அந்த நேரத்தில் நன்றி. அதே போல ஹாஸ்பிட்டாலிட்டி வழங்கிய ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் இந்த நேரத்தில் நன்றி தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டோம். பேராசிரியர்கள் இருக்காங்க, அவங்களுக்கும் இந்த நேரத்தில் நன்றி. ஏன்னா ஒரு நிறுவனத்துக்கு வந்து செல்கிற பொழுது அவங்களுக்கு நினைவில் இருப்பது கல்யாணத்துக்கு சொன்னால் பொண்ணு மாப்பிள்ளை அழகாக இருக்காங்களாங்கிறது ஒன்று, அதற்கப்புறம் சாப்பாடு நல்லா இருந்தாங்கிறது 2வது சொல்லுவாங்க. கருத்தரங்கில் அதே போல கருத்தரங்கு நல்லா இருந்தால் ஓகே, அடுத்தது அங்கே வழங்கிய சாப்பாடும் மற்ற சிற்றுண்டியும் சரியாக இருந்ததா என்று கேட்டால் அது நன்றாக இருந்தது என்பதை சொல்வார்கள். அந்த வகையில் அதுவும் மிக திருப்தியாக இருந்தது என்பதுதான் இந்த நிகழ்வில் இன்னொரு வெற்றி என்று சொல்லலாம். மீண்டும் ஒரு முறை அனைத்து துறை பேராசிரியர்களுக்கும் மாணவர்களுக்கும் இந்த நேரத்தில் நன்றி. ஆடியன்ஸாக இருந்துட்டு நிகழ்ச்சியை செவிப்படுத்த மாணவ கண்மணிகளுக்கும் இந்த நேரத்தில் நன்றி தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். நன்றி.
Thank you, sir. We now proceed to certificate distribution. May I request our awardees to come forward as the names are called. Mr. K. Anandan, Assistant Professor, Gobi Arts and Science College. Dharani S.K., Assistant Professor, Congo Arts and Science College. I request one of the participants from Vellalar College for Women to receive the certificates. I request one of the participants from Vellalar College for Women Autonomous to receive the certificates for all the students. I now invite Ms. Nandini R.D., Assistant Professor, Department of English, DET Institute of Arts and Science College, to introduce the chief guest for the valedictory session.
It's my honor to introduce our esteemed chief guest, Dr. S. Jnana Sangamitra Ma'am, an accomplished academic, researcher, and associate professor of sociology, currently serving as the Associate Dean, Research at Vinayaga Mission Law School, Chennai. With over 8 years of teaching and research experience, her expertise spans sociology, gender studies, public policy, transgender rights, and social inclusion. So we are delighted to have such an inspiring person with us today. We extend a warm welcome to Dr. S. Jnana Sangamitra Ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening to one and all present here.
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity, especially thanks to yourself, sir. Just now today when I came to know that he is physically not present here, but he coordinated very well the program as if he is present here. So thank you so much. And also, as sir also rightly mentioned, when I came here, all the young faculties who are very much enthusiastic and organizing this event, so it is very much appreciable and kudos to the team and the students as well, because they are the pillars of this successful of this event. What inspired me is this two international day of national seminars, especially focusing on the financial aspect, because it is very much needed at this time. Because we are in moving from a traditional economy to a digital era where everything has become a digitalized. So the awareness towards the financial inclusion is very much needed. So what the all the expertise who spoke about the financial literacy and financial inclusion is very much necessary. Being from a sociological background, how it is going to inspire the young faculties and young students, and also what is the role of educator to educate the people who are in need of those is very much needed at this right time. And as sir is also previously when I came here, they were focusing more on field visit and doing a lot of other activities. Definitely that will be continuing, I think so. So now they have to focus on how they can create an awareness among the rural background, because the places which is around this institution is mostly suburban and rural areas, where the financial literacy and like creating awareness to the entrepreneurs and the villagers or those who are illiterate around this area is very much needed. So I think so through this national seminar, the few people might have understood what is actually needed to be implemented. And thank you so much for the insightful topic for this seminar, and thank you for whole team for organizing this. Thank you so much, and for the invite also.
Thank you, ma'am. I now invite Mr. Prabhu P., Assistant Professor, Department of Sociology, OET, Institute of Arts and Science, Co-Education College, Erode, to present the report of the workshop cum panel discussion.
Good evening to the dignitaries, respected chief guests, esteemed resource persons, faculty members, and research scholars, participants, and dear students. It's my immense pleasure to present the report of the 2 days national conference on financial literacy, financial inclusion, and economic security among textile workers, policy presentation, policy perspective, and developmental challenges. Organized by the Department of Sociology, PET Institute of Arts and Science, Co-Education College, Erode on 14th and 15th July 2026. The program commenced on 14th July 2026 with the inauguration session beginning with the Tamil Thai Vaatu and also ceremonial lighting of the lamp. Overall, the two-day presentation, we have the opportunity to listen to distinguished academics, researchers, and experts from across various parts of the country who has shared their knowledge, research findings, practical experiences, and issues that are highly relevant to the modern society. Due to time issues, I will skip to the conclusion. So, as I conclude, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the ICSR who has funded the ICSR project. Then also my extended heartfelt thanks to our management, the principal, all our distinguished resource persons, chairpersons, the delegates, participants, faculty members, volunteers, and students who have dedications and support made this seminar memorable and successful academic event. With these few words, I will conclude my report on the 2 days national seminar. Thank you.
Thank you for your sagacious report, sir. Now I invite Dr. Yashir Ashraf, Organizing Secretary and Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Sociology, to propose the vote of thanks.
Okay. Sir. Sir, are you audible, sir? Sir, are you audible, sir?
Yeah, audible.
Sir, can you give us what is that, sir? What is that, sir?
Okay, fine. So, respected chief guest, distinguished resource persons, chairpersons, board chairs, distinguished faculty members, delegates, research scholars, students, and the participants and the alumni members. A very good afternoon to one and all. As we come to the close of the 2 days ICSSR sponsored national seminar on financial literacy, financial inclusion and economic security among textile workers, policy perspectives and developmental challenges. It's my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks. At the outset, I express my heartfelt gratitude to our honorable chief guest for graciously accepting our invitation to preside over the valedictory ceremony. Ma'am, your inspiring address and valuable insights have provided us with encouragement and a new commitment to promote research, financial awareness, and inclusive development. I extend my sincere thanks to all our distinguished resource persons, keynote speakers, session chairs, co-chairs, panel members, panel discussions, who shared their knowledge and expertise throughout the seminar. Your scholarly deliberations have enriched our understanding of the challenge and opportunities in advancing financial literacy, financial inclusion, and economic security among the textile workers. I place on record our profound gratitude to Indian Council of Social Science Research, New Delhi, for generously sponsoring this national seminar through the continued communications from March till now. Their continued support for academic research and knowledge dissemination has made this program possible now. So, I express my sincere appreciation to the college management, our respected principal, research team, IQC coordinators, head of the department, the faculty members, administrative and non-teaching staff for their constant guidance, encouragement, and wholehearted support in making this seminar a grand success. My special thanks to D. Karthika ma'am, Associate Professor at the Department of Computer Science, Dr. Dinesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Mr. Prabhu, Faculty of Sociology, and other English faculties and mathematics faculties who have, with their support, we could make this possible to happen this program. So, I thank all these members of the faculties who have volunteered for this program. A special appreciation goes to all the delegates, paper presenters, the scholars, academicians, NGO members, and participants from various institutions across the country and outside the country also. So your enthusiastic participation, thought-provoking presentations, and the discussions have been a true strength for this seminar. I acknowledge the tireless efforts of the organizing committee, student volunteers, the technical team, media personnel, photographers, and every individual who have worked behind the scenes with dedication and commitment. I would propose vote of thanks to the the drivers and Dr. D. Dinesh and Prabhu, whose constant support, with commitment and dedication they have done to bring the guests from various places to host them. So your teamwork and sincere effort ensured a smooth and successful conduct of every session. As we conclude these 2 days of academic engagement, let us carry forward the ideas, collaborations, and commitments that have emerged from this seminar. May the discussions held here inspire further research, policy initiatives, and practical interventions to strengthen financial literacy, inclusion, and economic well-being of the textile workers and other marginalized communities. Finally, I thank each one of you for your valuable presence, active participation, and unwavering support. Your contribution has made this national seminar a memorable and meaningful academic event. With profound gratitude to everyone who contributed directly or indirectly to the success of this seminar, I I conclude my vote of thanks. Thank you, one and all. Wishing you a safe journey home. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We conclude our national seminar with the national anthem. Kindly rise for the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे जागे तव जय गाथा जय जय मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
This brings our two-day national seminar to a close. On behalf of the Department of Sociology and the organizing team, thank you all for your valuable participation. Thank you to everyone who joined us.